It has produced figures showing all except the richest 10% saw their take-home wages rise by at least 2.5% once tax cuts were taken into account. That is more than the Consumer Prices Index (CPI) inflation rate of 2.4% in the year to April 2013. Labor said the figures were highly selective and did not take into account changes to benefits. The government said the figures showed only the top 10% of earners fell behind the CPI rate, which excludes the costs of buying and owning a home such as mortgage interest repayments, with an average increase of 2%. It said it made its claims by taking into account cuts to income tax and national insurance. BBC political correspondent Ian Watson said the issue of whether households felt better off was far more important than any set of figures, and might be what influenced voters ahead of next year's general election. Conservative Skills and Enterprise Minister Matthew Hancock said, "Of course, as a consequence of the Great Recession, people who work hard have been made poorer and times are tough for families as a result. That's why, as part of our long-term economic plan, we are cutting taxes for hard-working people, so they have more money in their pockets and are more financially secure." And speaking to BBC Business editor Robert Peston on Thursday, Prime Minister David Cameron said, "We are cutting people's taxes, so we are seeing some positive signs on take-home pay, but it's going to take time, and we need to be patient and work through our long-term economic plan, so it's a recovery that really lasts, and that benefits everyone." But Labour's Shadow Treasury Minister Cathy J. Messon countered, saying, "These highly selective figures from the Tories do not even include the impact of things like cuts to tax credits and child benefit which have hit working families hard." She said that under the current government, real annual wages had fallen by a 1,600 since 2010, and figures from the Institute for Fiscal Studies showed that families are on average a 891 worse off as a result of tax and benefit changes since 2010. Deputy Political Editor James Landale said the government was trying to counter criticism from Labour that people were not feeling there was an economic recovery underway. The question is whether this kind of battle over statistics that will now ensue matters more than how people actually feel in their pockets, our correspondent said. Paul Johnson, director of the Institute for Fiscal Studies, told BBC Radio 4's Today programme the government had used a perfectly sensible set of numbers to calculate take-home pay for the 2012 to 2013 period. But he pointed out that more up-to-date Office for National Statistics data, the average weekly earnings index, showed wages rose quite a lot less quickly than inflation in the most recent months. He added that the IFS's own analysis suggested that if the recovery takes off and continues as expected, people will start to see their incomes rising by 2015, but they will be well below where they were 6 or 7 years ago. Earlier this week, the International Monetary Fund upgraded its forecast for the UK economy. It now expects the economy to grow 2.4% this year, faster than any other major European economy, against its previous forecast of 1.9%.